They destroyed evidence that would have exonerated Kevin Cooper. The day they said Kevin Cooper was the lone assailant, a woman turned into the sheriff's office a pair of coveralls that were caked in blood and had white horsehair adhered to the pant legs. During Cooper's preliminary hearing, the deputy destroyed the coveralls, threw them in a dumpster, and they were never lab tested. The reason I think the DA framed Kevin was they made a colossal mistake early on in the investigation. You know, these bodies were found on a Sunday afternoon, and over the next 24 hours, over 70 different people, cops, citizens, etc., but mostly cops, went right into the crime scene, corrupting the crime scene terribly. On the second day after the murders, they disassembled the crime scene. Now, this was a crime scene that had blood everywhere. Every piece of furniture in this room had blood on it. The walls had blood, streaked with blood all over. And it would have shown you the movements of the people if you'd have typed the blood off the wall. It would have shown you where they were and all this. Well, they took the walls out down to the studs. They took all the furniture out, and they stored it in a warehouse where the air conditioner didn't function right, and the warehouse went up to 120 degrees or so, and all the blood specimens were lost. There was no ability to track anybody's movements. They never knew the order of the way the victims were killed. They were never able to determine anything because they destroyed the crime scene. And they liquidated all the evidence of the intruders. But I can tell you this, they never found one hair of a black person at this crime scene. As much as they looked, they never found that. So they destroyed the crime scene, and now they're kind of stuck. And then they find out that Cooper had holed up in this hideout house, this vacant house below the Ryens, and they kind of solved their problem for him. He looked pretty good for it to them. He's an escaped convict. He needed to get a car to get away. So they said he needed a car to get away, and therefore he went up there and killed 4 people and tried to kill this little 8.5-year-old boy too. I mean, it didn't make any sense. Everything Cooper did in the hideout house was to conceal himself there, to not draw attention. So to say that he had any interest in setting off the largest manhunt in California history to steal a car. This guy had stolen over 100 cars in his life, Kevin Cooper. He was an expert car thief. And by the way, the keys were in the car. The Ryens had 2 cars, a station wagon, and they had a truck, a Chevy truck. They left the keys in both of them. So an experienced car thief like Cooper would have never even encountered the Ryens. He would have just taken the car and gone. Plus, if robbery was his motive, stealing the car, there was money and credit cards all over the Ryens' house. Money was in plain sight right on the kitchen counter. That was undisturbed, still there. So it didn't make any sense. They demonized him. They made him sound like a super predator, but not just super predator, but a crazed one, a maniacal killer. I mean, after all, 2 children were butchered to death in this assault, and another left for dead. So this person has to be a demon and has to be crazy. So that's the picture that they sold, and the media bought hook, line, and sinker. I read 150 stories about Kevin Cooper's coverage before he was captured. Every one of them said, axe murderer sought. Police hunting for axe murderer. That type of thing. And it carried over. When Kevin was finally captured, 8 weeks later, it carried over. They bring him in. 60 people show up at the gate, yelling at him as he's manacled and in chains coming into the jail back to San Bernardino. And then the first day he has an arraignment. There's people outside with a toy gorilla hung in effigy that says, hang Kevin the ape. And then at the preliminary hearing, there's a sign hung up that says, kill the African troglodyte. And other worse things that I'm not even going to mention that they said on signs. So the public had bought into this, that this was some crazy black person who killed white people. And the reason the DA sticks to this story all these years later, even though we've all this newly discovered evidence that's come in, they have a vested interest in seeing the conviction stick, because this is the good person they hung it on. They framed him. They don't want to admit that. They don't want to be the ones to say, "Oh yeah, we planted evidence that led to his conviction." It's just not in their best interest. The assistant prosecutor is still there. The assistant prosecutor at his trial is now the chief deputy district attorney of San Bernardino County. His career, this was the biggest case in his career. He doesn't want it overturned. Kevin Cooper had a habeas corpus hearing that went over a year in San Diego in front of federal district court judge Marilyn Huff. These were the most unfair hearings I've ever audited. It's not just her. Federal district judges who turn down habeas corpus appeals for death row inmates, they don't reverse themselves. It is typical for the judge to block the relief. They don't want to sit there and say, "Oh, I made a mistake the first time." This is all, it's incredible, but it's like an ego thing. Instead of saying, "Oh, I may have made a mistake the first time," or "I didn't thoroughly consider the evidence," no, none of that. Just motion denied. Judge Huff and this chief deputy DA from San Bernardino County, they are blocking together in tandem. They block Cooper from actually, not just getting a new trial, but being set free. My job as a reporter is to ask the hard questions. There's a lot I needed to know from him that only he knew. I found him a little bit guarded, but now here's the thing. When I was meeting him, he'd been on death row 25 years. Now this is an incredible place. The fact that he survived it is tremendously in his favor. Many people do not survive death row. He never joined a gang. He doesn't have a tattoo on him. He's his own man. I'll give Kevin credit for that. And if he wasn't as grown up as he should have been when he entered death row, he's a mature man now. Scapegoat shows how this San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and DA's office framed Kevin Cooper for these horrific murders. In doing that, it brings in the unfairness of our current justice system. It's really broken, where they have all the power, where they can destroy evidence that exonerates a defendant. They can, tamper with, plant evidence that implicates him, and ignore leads that point to the real killers. They have that much power. The system is broken, and that's the situation.